Greetings everyone. Today we'll talk about root pressure and a few more things related to this chapter. It will be the end of the explanation of this chapter. So let us start with root pressure. Root pressure is generally a pressure that is built up due to cell osmosis, and it helps in the conduction of water. What happens in this case, if we see this figure, we'll be able to understand. This is a cross section of a part of a root, and the arrows show you the direction of the cell to cell conduction. What happens here, this is a root here, water enters through this root here. So in general, every plant is in turgid condition. So when the water enters, this cell becomes turgid, the cell next to it becomes turgid, and that happens through all the processes that we have learned, through diffusion, through osmosis, turgidity, flaccidity, all the phenomenon that we have learned till now. So these turgid cells keep on passing due to this pressure build up in these turgid cells. What happens is water reaches due to this force, the water reaches the xylem vessels. Here these vessels, these double membrane vessels, are considered to be the xylem vessels. Water reaches the cells of the xylem vessels, and once it reaches the cells of the xylem vessels, which are vertical channels, it can enter through the pores. We have learned that xylem vessels have very thick cell walls. It can enter through the pores of the thick cell walls due to the high pressure, or rather due to the high root pressure. So this root pressure is one of the forces which helps in the upward conduction of water. But let me remind you that root pressure is not the only factor which helps in the conduction of water. All the factors that we have learned, they work together to help in the ascent of water. There is a process that you need to know about known as guttation. It is a phenomenon that we observe as a result of root pressure. What happens here is that in plants which have a short height, like the common garden plant, the grass, small ferns, tomatoes, in that case the root pressure is high enough, so high that it can force the water all the way through the stem, and it comes out through the leaf veins. Now this water, it appears as tiny drops along the margins of the tips of the leaves, and we see this especially in the early mornings. Now this is not similar to transpiration. There is a difference in guttation and transpiration, which we'll learn in detail in the next chapter. But before that, we should just know that guttation is a phenomenon, is a loss of excessive water which results due to root pressure. Okay. The next thing that we will learn is importance of root hair. What is the importance of root hair? We know that it is very important when it comes to the upward movement of water and minerals. How they help it, how they help this kind of movement, let us have a quick look on that. The root hair contains cell sap. We all know that. Now we have also learned that root hair is nothing but an extension of the terminal cells of the root. Now the cell, that is the cell sap that is present in the root hair, it has a higher concentration of salt, that is, it is concentrated as compared to the outside soil water. Due to this difference of concentrations, there will be osmosis, and the outside water will diffuse in. Now as it enters through the root hair, rather the cell bearing the root hair, water will continue to pass the adjoining cells one after the another. So this figure nicely represents that. Suppose this is the water molecules present beside the root hair, and what happens is this water, it enters through the root hair and it moves along it to the cell that the root hair is a part of, and they move to the adjacent cell. They keep on moving to the adjacent cell till they find the cell that links them to the vertical column, that is the xylem. Okay, so this water that reaches the xylem, it is acquired by the root hair. That's how it helps to push the water up in the xylem vessels. Root hair also helps us in absorption of mineral elements from the soil, but as we have learned that the concentration of salt is more inside the cell, so this has to take place in by active transport. That means minerals will be absorbed as ions or salts, but for that the cell has to spend ATP, has to spend energy. So the dilute solution of water and mineral salts absorbed from the soil by the roots can be now used for food manufacture. So by this we come to the end of all phenomena that are used by the plant to get water and minerals from the soil. Now there are four examples mentioned here, which are very important to learn to understand the working of the plant. First experiment is done to show that the roots absorb water. This will be a very simple one. For this, what has been done is 3 test tubes are taken. Okay, in the first test tube, which is a control setup, there is water taken and a layer of oil on top of it. In the second setup, that is the initial stage of the experimental setup, water is taken with a plant in it, and then on top of it a layer of oil is spread. So what do you think will be the result? Obviously in this test tube there will be no change of the level of water, because as oil is on top of it, it will block the process of evaporation, so there is no way for the water to escape. But as roots are in contact with water in this test tube and the oil is there preventing evaporation, so we will see that the level of water drops down after 1 or 2 days, showing us that root hairs root that are in contact with water are the only things responsible for dropping of this level of water. And level of water drops means where does it go? Obviously to the plant. So we can say that root absorbs the water. Next is to show that water is conducted upwards through xylem. To show this, a beaker, we have to use colored solution. What happens? We take water colored by eosin solution and we put it in a beaker and we put a plant through it. Now we keep it for 3 to 4 hours, which will help in the absorption of water, and at the end of this period the plant is taken out of the solution and washed with tap water, and then the roots, the stems and the leaves, all these 3 things are transversely cut, and the transverse section of the root, stem and the leaves will show under a microscope. The xylem vessels will appear distinctly colored or stained in red color, which was the color of the solution. So the presence of the red color marks the presence of the eosin solution in xylem vessels, showing that the eosin which was present in the beaker has traveled to the xylem. That is, water is conducted through the xylem. This water has reached the xylem, and in no other cell, that means water is conducted through the xylem. Now, vascular bundles in the stem, root, leaf stalks are all continuous and unbroken system. So, we can say that water, salt, or whatever travels through the water will be present in the xylem. Next, another example that we can show is an experiment that we can conduct to show that xylem is responsible for water conduction is to girdle. What we do is we take off or we make an incision in the stem. How we do that? See, we make an incision in the stem. We know that xylem is present in the inner part of the stem, near the pith of the stem. So if I make an incision like this, what does this mean? That in this portion, the portion where there is this hole, water will not be conducted. So till this portion water will be conducted, but then again from here there will be no conduction of water. So obviously the leaves present here will wilt, will show flaccidity, will wilt. And in this case, now this shows us that xylem is present in the middle section. Some may question that xylem can also be present in the outward section. That might have caused some effect. So what we can do to negate that point is that we can scrape off some of the outer portion of the stem. Okay, and as we know for a fact that xylem is present in the innermost portion, we'll see that taking off of that outermost section has not affected the turgidity of the leaves, showing to us that water is getting conducted. Now this is all about xylem. There is a last experiment which shows us that food from the leaf is conducted downwards through the phloem. Here also this girdling has to be done, process has to be done. Any plant, if we girdle it like this, if we scrape off the outer portion like this, what we are actually doing is we are damaging the phloem tissue in the stem. So this much portion in the plant is devoid of any phloem tissue. We have been told many times that phloem helps in the transfer of food. We will see that we can actually judge whether that statement is correct or not by this. We'll see that after a few days, this part of the stem, the upper part of the stem, just above the girdle area, will bulge out. And even after some of the days, the plant will die. It may stop growing and it may even die. Why does it happen? It happens because the inner portion is intact. So water is conducted. Okay, every part of the plant is getting water. That means if they are getting water, they are able to make food. And food is passing down and food is being transported to every part of the plant. It needs to pass down to roots as well. Roots also need nutrition. But as phloem is absent over here, so the food that needs to pass to the lower part of the plant, it's getting accumulated over here. That's why the bulging. And as it is not able to reach the root due to deprivation, the roots, they are deprived of the nutrients, they won't be able to grow, they won't be able to function. So ultimately it will affect conduction of water also. The organic contents of the lower parts will be exhausted. So the leaves will not be in a fresh and healthy condition anymore. So we can say that both phloem and xylem are important for the well-being of a plant, and by removing the phloem in this case and by removing the xylem in this case, we can prove that xylem and xylem is helpful in conduction of water and phloem is helpful in conduction of food. These experiments, why are they important? Obviously they are important for the plants to and also for us, that it will help us understand the processes. It is also important for the exams. You might be given this figure and you might be asked that what is the outcome of this experiment. This kind of questions come. Also you might be asked to devise an experiment which shows xylem is the conducting vessel for water. You might be asked to show or to write down an experiment that shows phloem is the conducting vessel for food. So either you have to write the entire experiment, or a figure will be given, or the conditions will be given. You have to write the result and the conclusion. So that's why I read the experiments, study the experiments nicely. We come to the last part of the chapter, that is the forces contributing to ascent of sap. We have learned what are the phenomena that are responsible for the ascent of sap. These are the forces that contribute to the ascent of sap. The first one is root pressure. We have learned earlier. It builds up sufficient force to push the sap in the xylem vessel. Then we come to capillarity. The fact capillarity you must have learnt in chemistry. It is actually due to the narrow diameter of xylem vessels. Water from a lower level, generally from a lower level, for a liquid to rise to a higher level, it's not possible. To overcome the gravitational force, it's not possible. But due to the narrow diameter of xylem vessels, the water from a lower level can rise to fill up the vacuum created by the loss of water due to transpiration of the leaves. Now, narrower the tube, greater will be the height of the water rising. Now, the force that it exerts to rise is called the capillary force. The third point is transpirational pull. So, as the water is lost from the leaf surface, more water molecules are pulled due to the tendency of water molecules to remain joined. And thus, they produce a continuous column of water. So this pull that is created due to the process of transpiration is known as transpirational pull. And a very important part of this transpirational pull is the tendency of water molecules to remain joined together. That tendency is known as cohesion. A similar kind of force that we'll talk about now is adhesion. It is again a property of water that causes it to stick to the surface of the cells, thus drawing more water molecules. So this pulling force provided by the leaves, especially very important in tall trees such as pines, coconut, where root pressure is not enough. Root pressure might be enough for small garden plants, but not enough for taller trees. Okay, and downward movement of sap is relatively simple because we have gravitational force to help us with it. And the food manufactured is dissolved in water and it flows down. So that's the end of the chapter. Your next content will be related to your question answers. Thank you everyone.